I'm nervous, anxious, fucking stir crazy. Not stir crazy. That's not the word. Words are so hard for me to get. I get to talk to Xavier this weekend. His mother wrote me a letter. Obviously, listening to the mediation, she still fears me, which is understandable. What happened, 3, 4 years ago? It wasn't a small thing. I almost lost my life. And even she said to Dr. Suzu and a couple of the people that she knew I wasn't going to hurt anybody else but myself. But then again, dealing with a crazy person, you really don't know. I always messed around. Like, I'd always call her Beauty. She was my beauty and I was a beast. Because I was a monster before. Very little care in the world about the consequences of my actions. Who it would hurt. Something needed to be done, it got done. The ends always justified the means. That's how I was before. At the end of the letter that she wrote me, she wrote, "Still your wife, Jasmine." I looked at that and I swear it was like half an hour. I'm just looking at it. You know, I'm not mad. That, honestly, it kind of made me happy. That she was like, I'm still your wife. I wasn't sure. My brother put in my head that maybe she's using that to hold against you, to hold you in place, to mess with your head. Or maybe, and this is how I feel, maybe she's just trying to remind me that, I don't know, that things aren't completely fucked, that things aren't completely a mess. That maybe there's some kind of reconciliation or steps to make things better, but she did that before. She did that before whenever she separated, and she was like, before I knew about AJ. Well, before I knew about AJ, I always suspected, but before she told me, yeah, this is what's happening, she was like, hey, do better. And who knows, maybe our life would get better. Maybe I'll come back home and, we can be a family again. And God, I tried so hard. Got the car, therapy 2, 3 times a week. Single father, arranged meetings for her so that she can still see Xavier between shifts and after work. Dates that, God, and looking back on it, she must have thought were horrible because she looking back, I'm thinking like she was really offish. Anytime I was close, she just constantly like, oh, this guy. And I'm like, I'm the fool to believe that. Something was mentioned before that she's not ready for a relationship. And funny, the woman, the wife, who cheated on me with another man for half of our marriage, said she's not ready for a relationship. 3 years later. Like 3 years later, she wasn't ready for any kind of compromise to help me see my son. Claiming that she never really tried to stop me, but everything I've been working on was because of the things that she did. This makes me think that maybe The words that she says are empty. And that hurts to think that. I'm not saying it's true, but it hurts to think that. And I want to believe the best, but then the best makes me look like a fool. And I promise myself I'll never do that again. My actions already make me look like a fool enough on a daily basis. And then there are people who actually want to be with me. and I tell them I can't. I tell them I can't. Because closure will never happen. Not really. Even if she got with somebody else, there'd still be the question of, maybe I could have done better. Because inaction is still a choice. Not making the effort is still a choice. And I think ultimately it's the mindset that I'm never going to be able to be set free. And it's not her fault, it's mine. I can't set myself free from this. I'm never going to really be able to be happy. Not really. Because whoever I get with, I'm always going to suspect that they're going to pull Jasmine. And even if something were to somehow go right between me and Jasmine, how do you erase something like that from your history, from your past? How do you look at somebody that you trust completely then and know that they ripped you apart? I gave her my ring. I remember that when we separated. Not when we separated, a couple months afterwards. And I said, hey, whenever you're ready to come back home, give me this. I bet you she doesn't have it anymore. I bet she threw that stuff in the river or in the garbage disposal or gave it to somebody else. I don't know. Maybe she pawned it off. I don't know. What would I do if I still had it? I'd have it. I didn't give it up, give it to her because I didn't want it. I gave it to her in hopes that she'd return it. Because my faith was in her. My hope was in her. That she would come back to me and Xavier. But instead, she claimed she'd hit the fan out. And I made it hit the room. But in all honesty, like, how else was anybody else really supposed to just take that kind of news? The worst place for a man in my position is to be stuck in his head. I can't allow myself to be stuck in my head. Because the whole world is watching. I can't mess up. The legacy is too important. Xavier is too important. My son is too important to be stuck in my head, hoping for happy tales and fairy endings. I say that knowing that I still do. She claims she was terrified that night, and honestly, I can't blame her. I was terrified too. I thought I was going to die that day. I wanted to die that day because everything that mattered to me was gone. Everything that was mattered to me. Now I felt I never had. She made me feel that way. She made me feel like everything I ever tried to do to make the life of a monster better failed before it really ever began. Obsessed. Maybe. but you shouldn't just be able. You shouldn't just be able to let something like this go. I don't mean the anger and the frustration. I mean the love. You just don't treat that like crap. You just don't throw it over your shoulder and say it's whatever. Because the vows, the promise is supposed to be there, right? Or maybe I'm just a hopeless romantic, which is why I always remain a fool, and I hate being that emotional. I didn't used to be. I have to stop thinking about me, and in turn, stop thinking about me. I'll stop thinking about her, and then I have to focus my energy, my waking moments on him, Xavier, my son, the legacy. This is not about me. It can't be. This is not about her. I can't let. I shouldn't let this be about her or me. It has to be about him. And that is the job of a parent. Hopefully I won't fail this time. I can't. The price is way too high. I got nothing else to say tonight.